All of these red pill dudes talk about how much these girls are absolute and then they still sleep with them. They talk about how much of a this girl is, and all of these dudes are sliding into the DMs of girls who are posting thirst traps.
You sure about that?
Watch a few videos of this guy right here. I guess he has a podcast or he does some sort of clip. He has a clip channel on TikTok and he talks about random stuff. I just happened to come across this video right here where he's talking about these dudes. I don't know who he's talking about. I think he's talking about some sort of podcast, some guy on a podcast maybe. But this just goes to show you how a lot of people really have no idea what they're talking about. Okay, a lot of men today are just not even worrying dealing with women that are posting themselves online, with women that are looking for validation from a lot of just different types of men. These types of men are not going to be entertaining that. They're going to be leaving those women alone. They can post the thirst traps, they can post the pictures or whatever they want to do, but these men are not going to be entertaining women like that. The men that do entertain women like that kind of look like this guy right here.
I'm telling you right now, I've stayed away from a lot of those dudes. I've had the unfortunate experience of meeting one or two of them, and these are potentially some of the lamest dudes with women that you will ever find in your entire life. I don't know. That whole space is very funny.
Why is everyone so stupid? Why aren't more people intelligent like me?
It is very funny. It's very funny because you've interacted with one or two random men that have kind of talked to you about this, and now all of a sudden you have generalized an entire group of people, which, well, that's not very good. That's not very good to do, especially when you post stuff like, let me bring up this let's watch this one real quick.
A woman's loyalty is tested when her man has nothing, and a man's loyalty is tested when he has everything. So for me personally, the most disgusting thing a man can do is leave his day one woman to struggle. Because if a woman helped you on your come up, then she sure as should enjoy some of the spoils of it once you're there.
First off, the first problem with this one is that women do not help men on their come up. That is not something that happens. You could probably say that happened years ago, maybe. I'm not sure. I wasn't alive back then. In modern times, women do not help men with anything. Women are only there whenever the man has everything the woman wants, and then the woman will insert herself into that man's life. Women do not help men on the come up at all. That is just a fantasy. That is a fairy tale now. It doesn't happen. Men are in their 20s. They're looking to start a family. They're looking to find a woman. These women are laughing at them saying, oh, well, you don't make $100K a year. You don't make 6 figures a year. You don't drive a Bugatti. You don't own your own home. Yeah, well, we're not, these women are not going to have anything to do with those types of men. So this is the type of guy, and you know these types of men where their woman could like run off on them, cheat, get her back blown out by a whole smorgasbord of random dudes. She could come crawling back and he would take her back. This is the type of guy we're talking about here. So the fact that he is calling someone lame, which, hey, look, if this guy gets ladies like that, I mean, I was looking through his TikTok, and there's a lot of videos of him like hanging out with other dudes shirtless, which is fine if that's what you want to do. But then again, he's sitting there calling other people lame. I don't know. I just found it kind of funny. But anyway, we have a few more clips coming up. What is going on, everyone? My name is Rat Boy. Welcome back to my channel. Today we will be talking about the mating crisis. Evidently, someone coined it the mating crisis. I have a clip from a podcast, or no, actually, it is a reply clip that we're going to be watching. And we're going to kind of break this down because I don't think there's a crisis at all. I don't think there's a mating crisis. I think that there are people making their individual choices, and these are the repercussions of those choices. What people have been saying when it concerns men is that it is a male loneliness epidemic. It's completely a male loneliness epidemic. Men are lonely whenever they're talking about it. But when it involves women, it's a mating crisis. They're not mating, so it's a crisis now. It's like some sort of National Geographic bullshit. So you can already tell that it's going to be pretty crazy, this clip we're going to break down. But then again, how many other videos have we seen where women are breaking down, they're crying, they're begging, they're pleading for any and all types of male attention, whether it's on dating apps, social media, It really doesn't matter. You would be hard pressed to find that volume of videos by men, because men are enjoying being single for the most part. These women, they get to a certain age, and I'll bring it up in the clip in a second. They will get to a certain age, and now their whole world is falling apart because they haven't had kids yet. They're freezing their eggs. They're stressing out. They want to do this and want to do that, but no man is taking them seriously. So we are going to go ahead and get into all that. If you could hit the like button, subscribe if you're new here, and let's get into it.
Talk about red pill rage. Look, I understand where it comes from. You thought for the longest time that if you treated women nicely, they would love you unconditionally. You thought if you gave them everything they ever wanted, it would be yours forever. And you may have even thought that your own masculinity was toxic for a second there. But now you've learned the truth. Nice guys really do finish last.
This is something else.
Many men have been married, and leave me a comment, because I think there's a few married men, or maybe divorced men out there, most likely probably just divorced men out there that have seen this video. Let me know in the chat if you were just a normal, decent husband and your wife did something horrendous and left you just holding nothing but your nuts. Let me know in the comments if that's ever happened. I think there are a majority of men where this has happened to, and a lot of times whenever this happens to a man, they will look at marriage, and a lot of times these men will look at relationships and even spending time with a woman. They will look at this as probably some of the biggest, just some of the biggest mistakes they will ever do, and so they will choose not to make those mistakes again. A lot of these men have learned lessons. That lesson is don't get married, don't live with a woman, don't entertain women like this. So it really has nothing to do with red pill rage. These men are just checking out. They are completely content living their life, and in a lot of cases doing what they've always wanted to do. You know, these men have been married. They know what they, you don't even have to be married. You can just live with a woman. You know what I'm talking about. These men are choosing to be in their peace. So there's absolutely no rage when you talk about this. There's no rage. These men are not mad at all. They're accepting the fact that the women today, modern women, are just not worth they're just not worth the headache. They've been through that. They've learned their lesson. They're moving on. A lot of them are concentrating on their careers, concentrating on their fitness. They are completely checked out from involving women into their life one way or another.
Women are very conditional with how they love you. Your masculinity is not toxic, and that the worst of femininity can be just as toxic as the worst of masculinity. Now you're angry. You've been lied to. You feel betrayed. And I get it. Betrayal is tough to get past. But guess what? You shouldn't be angry. You should be happy, because now you know the truth. Now you know what women actually want. Now you know how to be a man worthy of female desire. And
What the fuck?
Stop it. Get some help.
And here's the other miscommunication, because in this entire space, and we saw the podcast clips, now we're seeing this individual here, which we've had on my channel a few times, but this is the completely opposite narrative. This is what all these women sort of repeat in their echo chamber. That man is also in that echo chamber as well. And when you're posting TikToks and you got a bunch of, shirtless dudes around you, yes, you're going to be in the female space. And I hate to break that to you, but that's just the way it is. This has nothing to do with men wanting to be desirable to women. Men do not care. Men are not trying to be desirable to women. Women find certain types of men attractive. Either you got it or you don't. The men are, a lot of average men are looking around. They're like, look, we're not gonna, we can sign up for the dating app. Sure, we might get one match a month, but it's just, it's not our game. Where we're stepping out, we're gonna do our own thing. Some of these guys decide to approach women in real life and maybe get lucky that way. But a majority of men are completely checked out from dating, from relationships. They're focusing on their hobbies, focusing on themselves. Just like these women have been saying that they're doing. They're focusing on themselves and they get praised for it. But men do it, and it is a loneliness epidemic. It is something that is bad. It is something that needs to be corrected. It's funny how the narrative is completely opposite.
now you know how to protect yourself from the true dangers that exist in relationships between men and women. So drop the anger, forgive yourself for the mistakes you've made, and stop attacking the other side the same way that they attacked you. Remember, a hero and a villain have the same painful backstory, but one uses it for good and the other uses it for evil. So continue to speak up to make sure young men and women do not suffer the same way you did, and not because you have disdain for your opponents.
This is also something that just does not sit well with me, where people paint it as good and evil, right or wrong. It's either good or it's evil, when in reality, it's all just a bunch of grays. It's all very gray, because promises are meant to be broken, rules rules are meant to be unfollowed. It's just the way of life. It's the way of nature. Okay. If nature followed the rules, then we would still be in a primordial ooze at the bottom of the ocean. So it just doesn't make any sense. There's going to be friction. There's going to be learning. There's going to be growing pains. It's all part of life. However, men do not have to sit back and do not have to accept what women have become. They don't. Men do not have to do this. They can kindly step away. If women want to be this way, okay. But men do not have to sit there and accept the harassment and accept the dangers and the risks of involving these women in their life. Waste of money, waste of time, waste of effort. The men have seen this and they are gladly and silently going their own way.
There are an increasingly large number of women who are just choosing not to get married and are.
It's not a mating crisis. You know, someone suggested yesterday when someone announces that something is in crisis, you have to ask yourself, crisis for who?
So let me just address one part in the very beginning where she says women are choosing not to get married. These women are choosing their careers. These women are choosing their own path. So they're not putting themselves in a position to get asked to get married. See, the man has to ask a woman to get married. That's how all this works. So if the woman isn't getting asked to get married, guess what? She's not going to get married. Okay. Men are not asking women to get married. That's why women aren't getting married. You see how that works? So you, instead of saying, oh, women aren't getting married, no, you need to say men are not asking women for marriage anymore because it's a waste of time. Men are not wanting to get married to these types of women. Let me just clear that up right there. Women are not getting married, absolutely. But women do not. Well, when do women ask a man to get married? Seriously, women have no control over whether they get married or not. It is the man's decision to ask the woman. The whole mating crisis conversation has nothing to do with a woman's choice. These men are choosing to walk away. Okay, so these women are concentrating on their own life, their own careers, which, hey, okay, that's fine. Go do it. But instead of doing it quietly like men, they have to do it so loud. They have to post numerous videos about it over and over and over again about how they are choosing to decenter men, how they're choosing to do this and do that. And men just do not care. Men are not making these types of videos.
Because women aren't in crisis. But I can tell you why they're calling it a crisis. Because the world is finally realizing how valuable all the unpaid labor that women provide is, and how necessary it is, and how our economic system, our political system, our education system.
Our economic system was actually way better when women were not allowed to work. Nobody wants to have that conversation, I guess. Men got paid more, the jobs were better. A man could support multiple families on one salary. So sitting there and making that claim is just complete delusion right there. Okay. If you want to go back to the peak of financial stability in the US, you would have to completely strip the ability of women to work. Okay, they pushed women into the workforce to get double the income tax. That's just the way it is. Nobody wants to talk about that reality right there. Okay, being a pawn for the system, good job. Guess what? You played yourself.
Our elderly care system, our families cannot function without that unpaid labor. The exploitation of women's labor is what keeps capitalism humming.
You blew it. Capiche?
If you were to ask me, I would say that probably the most important role a woman can play, you know, living as a woman, which I'm not a woman, obviously, but I would say that being a mom, being a mother would probably be the most important role a woman can play. That's not something a man can do. A man cannot be a mother. A man cannot birth a child. It's just never going to happen. A woman can. So the idea that these women want to forego that option in the prime of their life is what they, you know, historically is what women concentrated on to start a family. They want to forego that. They want to go to college. They want to get a career, which again, that's their prerogative. Sure, whatever. I have my own personal opinions about that, but everyone can make their own decisions. They're sitting around saying, oh no, it's a mating crisis. Oh no, this is a crisis for men. Men are avoiding you. Men do not want to be around you. Why would a man want to date a manly woman? It just doesn't make sense. A lot of men now, I know a good number of men in real life that would rather have their wife stay at home, with the kid than to be out working. So that kind of tells you where their head is at in this sort of female centric online space, because there definitely is a mating crisis. But then again, men aren't the one crying about it in the front seat of their Teslas. Men are just trying to tell women, like, look, we're not going to be entertaining you. It's not going to happen. Then they brag saying, oh, well, they can get a man. Yeah, you can get a man for a night, sure, but you're not sitting there crying because you want a man for a night. You're sitting there crying because you haven't found a husband and you're 49 and you missed out on that big promotion, and now you're having a bad day. Well, guess what? Men are not here to save you. So you can act all strong and proud in your executive leather chair sitting behind your desk, but then again, men aren't the ones crying in front of a camera begging for any sort of attention from the people around them.
And the tactics they used to use to shame us into compliance, those tactics aren't working anymore. And they're terrified.
No, see, no one's terrified. No one cares. No one cares. The inflated egos today are unmatched. These women think so highly of themselves, when in reality, they could disappear and nothing would change. What country was that where there was a protest and all the women just didn't go to work? You know, they protested, they stayed home from work for however long it was, and the actual country worked better. It was more efficient. It actually helped. And the men are sitting around like, hey, y'all need to do this more often. This is great. You know what I mean? So it just, the whole narrative is completely backwards. Okay, you have the podcast dude. You have this guy who probably wants to be cooked. I don't know. I don't know too much about this guy. Okay, I see a page with a bunch of shirtless dudes, and I make assumptions, sure, but what's this guy talking about? I just think you don't need to be talking negative about people if you really don't know what you're talking about. Okay, because this guy right here, completely confused. He's in the same type of space. He is in the same type of space as, women like this that are sitting there saying that men are filled with rage because of what you call red pill rage. It doesn't make any sense. There's no rage. You're calling it that because you want to make a man's decision to not even deal with women like this. You want to make it seem like these men are mad. These men aren't mad. These men just do not care. Get your jobs. Get your careers. Don't have kids. Freeze your eggs. That's perfectly fine. I'm actually perfectly fine with that. The only thing I'm not fine with is it's these same women that have no issue posting videos like this. It's these same women that you see 10 years from now crying in their front seat, wondering why no man will commit to them. Oh, they have no problem getting men on the apps to match and meet them for a 2 a.m. visit, but none of these men will commit because they're intimidated by their success. No, these men just don't care. They see the trauma. They see the issues that comes with a woman that's in a high stress position, a woman that her eggs aren't, non-existent at that point. You can't give this guy a family. You don't know how to cook. You don't know how to clean. You work so much. You barely bathe. It's just like there's nothing in it for a man. You have absolutely no value when it comes to a man wanting you long term in a relationship. So this is where the miscommunication is. And look, if you're a woman watching this and you're like, why is this rat breaking this news to me? Well, look, this news has to be broken to you. Okay, I'm sorry it had to come from a rat on YouTube, but it's just, this is the way it is. This is reality. They are so stuck in their echo chamber that they have lost all sense of the world. They have no idea what's going on. If I were to show you this comment section, it is insane. All of these women who are not even agreeing. They are championing this advice, this revelation that, oh, the mating crisis is hurting men. Lady, men are the cause of the mating crisis. Men are not mating with women like this. Men are avoiding women. In order for a woman to be married to a man must ask the woman for marriage. It's common sense. But leave it up for a woman to take something that is entirely a man's choice and flip it to make it seem like, oh, well, men don't have any choice. Oh, yes, men do. We are the one making the choices. And it's funny how when men start avoiding women, when men start doing their own thing, we have caused multiple crises We got the mating crisis. We got the loneliness epidemic. It is completely insane. The amount of delusion that you will find when you just accidentally stumble into these sort of echo chambers on TikTok. But let me know what you guys think, fellas. Leave me a comment down below. I never thought I would be sitting here talking about the multiple crises that men have caused. It is insane to me the amount of mental gymnastics some of these women go through to justify their thought process. But then again, you can look back on the videos on my channel and you can see all of the women crying because of the decisions they made in their life. I don't really see that with men. I see men regret it. I do see a lot of regretful videos from men. I'm just going to go ahead and throw that out there. But a lot of times these men are regretting marriage. These men are regretting getting involved with these women that they saw the red flags and they just chose to ignore them. So if I can just shine any amount of light onto a man that is maybe wanting to involve a woman into his life, if I can maybe just help one man, then I think I've done my job. But anyway, fellas, leave me a like, subscribe if you're new here, and I will catch you guys later. Rat Boy out.